Before NYSC, Darius' life was steady, not extravagant, not splashy, but steady in a way many young men would pray for. Dari was a skilled technician, the kind of person who you call when something stopped working. Phones, wiring issues, small electronic installations. He had a reputation for fixing things quickly and correctly. Because of that, work came regularly. Money wasn't pouring in, but it came often enough that Dari never felt stranded. He could pay his bills, take care of himself, and still send something home whenever his parents needed help. In his family, Dari was dependable. So when his NYSC posting came and he was posted to Abuja, he wasn't worried. To him, it was simply a new chapter. 1 year of service, a change of environment, and then he simply continued building the life he had already started. Through a contact, Dari eventually found an accommodation in Gwarimpa, a boys' quarter behind a well-kept house in a quiet compound. The landlord name was Miss Bimbo. She looks like a very normal woman you would expect to find in respectable estates, calm, polite and composed. The kind of person who greeted people with a soft smile and never raised her voice unnecessarily. People around the compound respected her. One thing that stood out about her was how often she gave sadaka. Every week, beggars would gather inside her compound, sometimes just a few, sometimes many of them.
Thank you, madam.
Old
God
men,
bless you.
women with tired faces. People who had nowhere to go. Mrs. Bimbo would sit outside and share what she could. Sometimes food she had cooked, other times money. Especially on the day when she hadn't prepared meals. People passing often praised her generosity. Dare saw this about her and he loved it too. Life in this compound started quietly. He focused on the place of his primary assignment and tried some small technical jobs by the side and also added remote jobs to it. It was one of those nights where he stayed up for his remote job that he noticed something strange. He heard three soft knocks in the window, and when he stood up to check it, he saw nothing. Then he thought to himself it might be somebody that was passing. Then he went back to continue working. Until 3 months later, he heard the same thing. 3 soft knocks. This time it felt closer and deliberate. Larry opened his curtain and looked outside again. Nothing. But when he stepped outside to check around the window, he noticed something unusual on the ground. Bare footprints. Human footprints. Then he traced it slightly towards the backyard. Larry stood there staring at the moment. Before shaking his head, probably it's rainwater, he muttered. He went back inside and tried to forget about it. But around that same period, things in Darius' life slowly began to change. The technical jobs he depended on started disappearing. Nobody was even employing him remotely. People who normally called him stopped reaching out. Connections he thought that were reliable suddenly became silent. At first, he blamed the economy. Everyone complained about how difficult things were becoming. But week turned into month, and Dari realized the problem was deeper than that. The savings he came in with before NYC began to finish. Little by little, transport to his place of primary assignment and food, daily needs soon became something he could not afford. He found himself doing something he had never imagined he would do, calculating how long food in his room would last. Some nights he soaked Gary, drank it slowly. Other nights he simply went to sleep hungry. The worst part was that he was embarrassed. Back home, his family still believed he was doing well in Abuja. They would even call him sometimes to ask for little assistance, and Gary would promise to send them money soon, even when he had nothing left and he knows that was impossible. But then, Mrs. Bimbo acted like a helper to him. She would start showing up in small little kindness. One evening, she knocked at his
Here's your
door
dinner.
holding
It's
a
still
small
hot.
flask.
Thank you very
Sorry, she
much.
said gently. I cooked too much today. Take some before it spoils. Inside was rice and stew. Another day, it was soup and swallow. Sometimes when she saw him sitting quietly in the compound, she would ask, "You're not going to your place of primary assignment today?" Daddy would laugh awkwardly. Then she would quietly pass him some money. "Use this for transport," she would say. "A young man like you shouldn't stay at home." To Dari, it felt like kindness. A landlord who genuinely cared about the young man living in her compound. But something strange was happening the more Dari accepted help from Mrs. Bimbo. The more his life seemed to fall apart. Job coming fade. He often felt tired for no clear reasons, like something invisible was slowly draining his energy from him. And every month the strange knock continued in his window. One evening, Dari noticed something that made his curiosity stronger than it was. Mrs. Bimbo was in the backyard, kneeling close to the ground, whispering softly at something. At first, he thought she was praying, but the way she spoke didn't sound like prayer. It sounded like someone that is apologizing. Her voice was slow and tense. "Please, don't be angry," she murmured. "I did what I had to do." He froze where he stood. He didn't know why, but something about that moment felt unsettled. The next day, he tried to forget what he had seen. But curiosity, it can be stronger than caution. That night, long after everybody had gone to bed, Terry stepped outside with his phone torch. His heart was beating faster than usual. He walked slowly towards the backyard, the same place where he had seen Mrs. Bimbo kneeling. The ground looked slightly disturbed. Terry hesitated for a minute. Then he crouched down and started digging carefully. The soil was soft. After a few minutes, his hand hit something solid. He cleared the remaining dirt and pulled it out. It was a mirror. A full-length mirror wrapped tightly in white cloth, buried in the ground like something meant to be hidden. Larry stared at it, confused. The moment he touched it, the air around him suddenly felt cold. Slowly he unwrapped the part of the clothes and looked into the mirror, and what he saw made his blood freeze. The reflection inside the mirror was not his own.
Who was
It
that?
was Miss Bimbo standing right behind him. Larry
There's
spun
no one
around
here.
instantly, but the backyard was empty.
There's no one
No
here.
one was there. When he looked back into the mirror, his hand began to shake because the reflection had changed again. Now the mirror
Who was
showed
that?
nothing at all. Not even him. Just
There's no one
emptiness.
here.
Larry stared at the mirror for several seconds, trying to convince himself that his eyes were playing trick on him. Maybe it was darkness. Maybe the torchlight in his phone was reflecting badly on the glass. But the longer he looked, the clearer it became. There was still no reflection. Just an empty mirror staring back at him. A wave of fear rushed through his chest. Larry quickly wrapped the mirror back and dropped it on the ground like something that had suddenly become too dangerous to touch. He didn't dig the hole again. He didn't try to cover it. He simply turned and walked quickly back inside his room, locked the door and sat on the edge of his bed. Sleep never came that night. Every time he closed his eye, the image of the empty mirror returned to his mind. Strange thoughts that he couldn't explain. A quiet feeling that something about him had changed. Something that had once been there was no longer there. The next morning, Larry avoided the backyard completely. When he stepped outside, Miss Bimbo was already in the compound. The same line of beggars had gathered
Here
again.
you are.
She was
Thank you,
sitting on a
madam.
stool
God
and
bless
sharing
you.
food and money the way she always did. Her face was calm, peaceful like nothing usual happened. When she noticed Dari, she smiled gently. "Dari, good morning," she greeted. Her voice sounded exactly the same as always. Dari forced a greeting and walked past her quickly, but something about her eyes made him uncomfortable. It felt like she was looking at him differently, as if she knew something he didn't. That evening, she knocked on his door again. "Dari," she said softly from outside, "I made some food. Come and take some." For the first time since he moved into the compound, Dari hesitated before opening the door. The smell of fresh soup filled the air, and normally he would have accepted it gratefully. But now something inside him felt
Thank you
so
very
uneasy.
much.
But hunger has a way of silencing suspicion. Dari took the food and thanked her. She nodded slowly and turned to leave. But before she walked away, she said something strange. "Try to rest tonight." Her voice was calm, but the way she said it made chill run through his spine. That night, he did not touch the food immediately. He sat staring at it for a long time. His mind kept returning to the buried mirror and to the empty reflection he had seen. Eventually, exhaustion pulled him into sleep, and sometime in the middle of the night, the sound returned. Three heavy knocks. The sound felt louder than ever before. Very eyes snapped open. The room felt colder than usual. Slowly, he turned towards the window. For a moment, he considered ignoring it, but curiosity and fear pushed him out of his bed. He walked towards the window and pulled the curtain slightly aside. What he saw made his heart nearly stop. Standing outside was Mrs. Bimbo at his window, but yet the ground beneath her showed no shadow, even though the security light was glowing from the compound. There was no shadow behind her, not at all. Larry's breath caught his throat. Slowly, Miss Bimbo lifted her head and looked directly at him. Then she smiled, a slow, knowing smile. Larry stumbled backward from the window, his heart pounding violently. He stayed awake until morning, too afraid to even look outside again. But before sunrise, the compound became very noisy. Voice of people moving quietly and confused, murmuring.
Go out.
He thought at first was the beggar as
Police must
usual.
find who did this.
Larry stepped outside to see what was happening. Then several neighbors gathered the main house. He asked somebody what was
Who did
going on,
this?
and they said to him Mrs. Bimbo died during the night. They said she was found in her bedroom early this morning, lying peacefully on her bed, like someone who had simply fallen asleep and never
Who
woken
did
up.
this?
When the police arrived and entered her room, they discovered something unusual. Mirrors, many mirrors, different shape and sizes covering at the part of the wall, facing the wall. On the small table beside her bed, they found something, a thin notebook. Most of the pages were empty, but on several pages had one sentence that had been written again and again in a shaking handwriting. A woman must not see her own shadow at night. A woman must not see her own shadow at night. Larry ran back into his room and packed his belongings. That same day, he didn't even stay till the evening. He left the compound slowly and went to his friend's place. He called his parents and they prayed for him. After leaving that place, things began to change in his life. Work returned to him little by little. Opportunities started appearing the way he used to. His strength came back. His mind felt clear again. But there is one thing that Dari said he had never forgotten. The night he looked into that buried mirror. Because for those few terrifying seconds, the mirror didn't show his reflection. And sometimes, even till today, Dari still wondered about something that kept him awake at night. If the mirror showed Mrs. Bimbo instead of him, then whose reflection was she really seeing? And what exactly had she taken from him before she died?